Wow, I had to put the heat on in the car. Granted, I'm in a t-shirt and it's 40 degrees outside, but boy, so this is the first time I've had to put the heat on in the car in many, many months. So I'm on my way to the chiropractor, and I wanted to talk to you about if you're a newbie, a new person, you're going to go to QUARTZSITE. Here's a thing to do that I didn't do my first couple of years. I was a little nervous about doing it, didn't really completely see the value, and that's going to Mexico when I'm in QUARTZSITE. Going down to Mexico, and I kept hearing about, oh, it's so much cheaper down there. You can get great dental work. You can get glasses for cheap, great food, and it's a lot of fun. You should go down and do it. It's a quick drive down there. And I was like, I'm not really sure about this. But who came to my rescue but the well-known author and YouTuber Deborah Dickinson, my good friend, said, you want to go down? We'll go down in a group and I'll show you how to do it. And she did. And I've been going ever since. I've had a ton of dental work done for a fraction of the cost. Successful dental work. There are little bumps in the road, but my dental work was successful at a fraction of what it costs in the U.S. And the town is called Algodones, Mexico, and it's right over the border next to Yuma. And they have more dentists per capita than any other place on the planet. And you will become a believer in that statistic when you go down there. And they also have tons of optometrists and pharmacies. So, and wonderful places to eat. And in every case, your dollar goes way further south of the border than you can likely imagine. And it's a fun time going down there. So, number one, how do you do it? How do you get there? Well, that's pretty easy. I think I measured it like when I had dental appointments from the door of my camper in La Posa South to the door of my dentist. I think it took an hour and 15 minutes. That's door to door. You know, that's including, getting my rig out of La Posa South and driving down there and parking in the parking lot on the US side and walking across and walking through town to get to my dentist, an hour and 15 minutes. So how do you do that? Well, boy, I have a dirty windshield. I'm going to turn this around because you don't like looking at me. I know you like looking at where I'm going. So let's see if I can. And I'll be recording this in two parts because I'm going to, in 5 minutes, I'm going to get, and we're going to get glare. Sorry about the glare. Nothing I can do about that because my appointments are in the morning and I'm heading into the sun. Sorry. And it magnifies any imperfections that there are in the windshield. So, sorry. Anyway, how do you get there? Very easy. 95, Arizona 95 runs north to south right through the center of QUARTZSITE. You take that baby south, follow the signs to Yuma, and just keep going. Don't make any turns. Keep going, and you're getting into Yuma. You're down there in Yuma, and you'll see signs for Interstate US 8, and you'll want to get on US 8 West, and you'll want to go. I think it's about. Heck, I'll go into Google Maps and I'll measure it, tell you how many miles, but I think it's about 10 miles going west. There's a casino, a Native American casino, and there's also a sign on the exit that says Algodones. And you get off at that exit, make a left, and the casino will be on your right. Now, I usually stop at the casino. I usually go with a group of people. We go into the casino, use the restroom facilities, and then get ready to go into Mexico. And we keep going on that road past the casino And as you get to the border, you will keep an eagle eye out. There'll be an RV park on your right, and a little bit after that RV park will be the entrance to the parking lot. If you go too far, you're going to run into the border, and you probably don't want to cross in your car the border. What you want to do is, and there's the opportunity at the border to turn around and go back the other way if you miss the entrance to the parking lot. And I can never remember how much it costs to park, but I think it's around $4 to $5 for a regular vehicle. You pay for that, you go in the parking lot, you walk across the border, and you are in the middle of this little town of Algodones. And it's not very big. And the first question is going to be, is it safe? Am I going to get swept up by marauding, drug cartel people that are going to kidnap me? And the answer to that is it is probably safer there than anywhere else you're going to hang out all winter. Why? Because 99.9% of the income for the people in this town are people like you and me that walk across and buy stuff. The last thing that they want, both the people and the government want, is any story about any kind of crime being committed against anyone that walks across the border to do business. So you will see police and military keeping watch over things. And I can tell you that the people that live and work there keep a watch on things too. There's no pickpocketing, there's no harassment. And I've been down more than a dozen times. And there wasn't a second that I felt unsafe at all. Now, that doesn't, you don't want to go wandering off away from the center of town and going to the outskirts, because there's no reason to do that. And there's obviously going to be less eyes and protection, and just stay in the few blocks that are obvious, right? So I'm getting to, I've got to go to my appointment here. So when I park, I'm going to shut her off, go into my chiropractic appointment, hop back in here and continue this video and tell you what I do in Algodones, the things that I've experienced and what it's like and why I'm such a proponent of it. And here we are at mid-spine. See, it's right there. And it is 8:15 on the button. And I am arriving. Okay, I'm back, and I'm going to start talking to you about the things that I do down in Algodones as we drive back home here. So number one, the simplest one is I have a diuretic blood pressure medication that I pay out of pocket for. And there's not a big savings here, because this I can get it generically from Walmart pretty cheap, but even cheaper, much cheaper actually, in the pharmacies in Algodones. And you don't need a prescription. And there's some rules, though, that you really need to pay attention to. And the rules are concerned with what you're allowed to bring back across the border into the U.S. Now, whether you have a prescription for something does not matter at the border. They don't care about that. Why do I say that? Because you could have a prescription for a medication that you're not allowed to bring across the border. You can get in trouble for it, and the prescription doesn't mean you're not going to get in trouble. You're going to get in trouble. So basically, the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, has a schedule of drugs, and if it's a scheduled drug, it's on one of the scheduled lists, it's not allowed. So anything, any kind of narcotic, things like Adderall, Ambien, things like that, They're not allowed. It doesn't matter whether you have but they will sell you this stuff in the pharmacy because they're allowed to in Mexico. And technically, it's not their business what you decide to try to carry over the border. So make sure you understand clearly the medication you're going to buy is permissible to take across the border. And remember, again, your prescription has nothing to do with it. So um, the pharmacies will tell you, they'll tell this is legal, this is not legal. And I'd say 99 times out of 100, they're accurate. But I wouldn't trust that. I would know for sure. And here's the other thing. So with the medications like mine, this diuretic, I am allowed each trip to carry 90 days of medication across the border and not more than 90 days worth of the medication. And there are fines for you can get in trouble for bringing more than that. They don't want people to go across the border, buy a bunch of cheap medication, and sell these medications in the US. So that's why they limit you to 90 days worth. So I limit myself to that. But I go down periodically, and when I go down, every once in a while, I'll get another 90 days worth. Now, what I don't know is it 90 days per trip, or 90 days worth per trip, or 90 days worth of a medication every 90 days. I don't know how they track that, but I'm not sure exactly what the rule is. So if someone knows, put it in the comment. I'm imagining that it's 90 days worth per trip. But here's the thing. Don't lie at the border. They can ask you, what did you get today? Well, I bought some medication. Well, how many days worth of medication did you get? And you go 90 days. And they can say, okay, let's see it. And they open, they'll have your bag, and they will look at that medication, and they won't let you in if you can't say no, you can't look. And because it'll be no, you can't come in, or you'll end up in a little conference room with a law enforcement officer being questioned. And here's the thing. If you lie and get caught, my bet is you're going to get whatever penalties are associated with what you did. If they ask you and you tell the truth and you're in violation, you will likely get I'm going to guess you stand a really good chance of getting a warning. But just be aware of what the rules are in taking medication across the border. If you follow the rules and if you're honest at the border, you can save money on your medications. What I see, one of the most popular things are like these albuterol inhalers are so inexpensive compared to what they cost in the US, and people with asthma and other respiratory conditions that require an inhaler love to stock up on them in Mexico. So the other thing is dental work, and that's pretty complex. You can get simple dental work, you get a cleaning, you can get a cavity filled, all the way up to having every tooth in your mouth replaced with implants, right? And that's multiple day procedure, and that's pretty complex and expensive, but far less expensive than it is in the US. And there are good dentists and there are not so good dentists. So the best thing is if you can find someone that you know that has dental work done down there and they can vouch for their dentist. That's the best way. The second best way is to start digging through reviews online and see what people are saying. But big discounts on dental work, and I've had more than one root canal done. I've had a tooth pulled. I've had a bridge put in to replace a tooth that was pulled. And I've had multiple cavities filled. And I have work done every year because I'm getting old and my teeth, it's what happens when you get old. And most of my viewers are my age, so you know what I'm talking about. Um, I use, it's called Borderline Dental, and it's called Borderline because it's right there. It's like one of the first buildings you get to when you cross into the border. And they haven't been perfect. I think the bridge work, and there were two root canals and a bridge, two crowns with on a bridge between them, and that got screwed up. And I came back within a year, at a year, and they took care of it. They warranted the work and they took care of it and they completely redid it and didn't charge me a dime. So there's there's kind of a plus and a minus there, right? Um, they didn't do great work on one pretty significant thing um, that they did for me, but they made it right. So that's my vouching for them. One of the difficult things is there is a language barrier. Often in borderline dental, there's one guy there that's pretty fluent and can translate, but most of the staff has limited English. Um, so I had a misunderstanding with them, and it turns out it was a language thing. That was the misunderstanding. So if you don't speak Spanish, um, I would suggest if there's not a person there that speaks obvious fluent English, try to use Google Translate and communicate that way, especially when you talk about treatment options and what's going to be done and what your options are. Use the Google Translate. So that's, and then I'm going to turn this around so you can see what I'm talking about. So these glasses, check it out. I have several pairs of glasses that are, they're reading glasses at the bottom, and they correct my astigmatism. The rest of their prescription lenses, and you can count on paying around $100. Some places a little less, some places a little more. I have several sets of glasses that have done very well for me, and they're certainly a lot less money than your typical place to buy glasses. And the one I've been going to, I don't know the name of it, but if you find Borderline Dental, it's the one right next door to it. And there's the optometrist in there. Generally, if you go in to buy glasses, you're going to get a free exam, and they're going to do and as you get older, it's a good idea to dial in that prescription every year because your eyesight will change gradually. Um, so then you have great food. So here's the place you don't want to miss. It's called La Pita. And I can't describe to you how to get there, but ask any vendor on the street. And you're going to run into vendors everywhere on every sidewalk trying to sell you stuff. Just brace yourself for that. But ask any one of them where La Pita is, and they'll tell you where La Pita is. And it's a place where they cook their shrimp and beef and tacos right in front of you. And there's always a line because it's such a great place. Good prices, although I notice the prices creep up every year. And then there are lots of other restaurants that are very inexpensive and very good. So that's the other experience that I love down there. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about the vendors. As you walk down the sidewalk, you're going to be approached by people trying to sell you things. They're all very nice. You can say no, thank you. They understand no, thank you. Here's a thing, though, that is sort of Deborah passed this to me, and I pass it on to other people. It's an unwritten courtesy down there. If you are down there and you're approached by a vendor and you engage them in conversation and start taking up their time, if you don't buy something from them, give them $1, tip them, right? If you're not, you're fine if you're approaching, you say no, thank you, and keep going. But if you take their attention away from other potential sales, I have a good friend of mine that goes down there with me, and he constantly loves talking to people, and I think that's great. But he does it with the vendors, and I have to constantly remind them, if you, it's great that you're talking to the vendor and being friendly, but if you're not going to buy anything, take $1 out of your pocket and give it to them. Trust me, down there, a $1 bill means far more to them than it means to you. So um, don't look at the vendors as a nuisance. This is their home. This is how they make a living. This is how most of the people in town make a living. Be kind to them. And don't take up their time unless you're willing to at least compensate them a little bit. Um, so the last thing I'll tell you about is the only negative that I can think of is when it's time to leave. It's so easy to get in, but you're gonna wait in line to get out. And I think the longest I've ever waited is about an hour and 15 minutes. And you'll see the line going through customs through the border. It goes way down the street. And just prepare yourself that you're going to wait in line for a long time. You just are. And the last thing is, what do you need to get through? Well, the best thing to have through is a number one best thing is a passport, a valid passport. You're not going to have any problem. Also, if you have a passport card, which I have, you're not going to have any problem. If you have a driver's license, all right, we could talk about enhanced driver's license and all this stuff and real ID and stuff. I'm not going to get into that. What I am going to tell you is if it's not a passport or if it's not a passport card, you will probably get through with a driver's license or a birth certificate, but they're going to give you a hard time. They're going to tell you, don't do it again. Next time, bring a passport. Um, just to understand that. But anecdotally, many people that I know in QUARTZSITE go back and forth routinely with a driver's license. And sometimes they say it's an enhanced license. There's all there's a couple flavors of that, real ID and enhanced driver's license. And I can't swear what every person had or didn't have. So that is all about Algodones and the reasons. I love going down there, and I will go down. Depending on how much dental work I'll have this year. If I have two temporary crowns from last spring that need to be permanent, so at least 2 trips for dental minimum. But God knows what they're going to find. I'll probably have to. I'll probably have more cavities. I'll probably have to have another root canal somewhere. Pretty soon, I'm going to have just like a whole mouthful of root canals. Um, anyway, that is for new people that are going to QUARTZSITE. Go ahead and make that trip with some friends to Algodones, Mexico. It's worth it, and it's a lot of fun, and you probably will save some money. Take care. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.